Greetings. Today I would like to discuss one important topic for the beginners, those who play for 1 week, 1 month, or even 2 months, and maybe even 1 year. Because the checkmate is the situation which should be started from the very beginning. Because you imagine a player gets an advantage and cannot checkmate the the opponent's king, and spend like 20-40 moves and check him all the time, and the king just move in different positions and run away. Especially if the player who plays with that player is experienced, then it will be very complicated. If you play 50 moves without a checkmate, and in a blitz game, if you play like 20 moves without a checkmate, then you in fact make a draw automatically by the rules. So how to actually checkmate in simple position if you have already an advantage in the end game? So let's start with a checkmate with a queen. 2 queens. So simple. And so simple position, and probably everybody knows how to do it. I just demonstrate how to do it fast. And after that I consider queen and a rook, queen, then 2 rooks, because these checkmates are very similar. Then after that 1 rook, then maybe a queen and a bishop, queen and a knight, and finally 2 bishops. I will not consider the checkmate with a bishop and a knight in a separate video, because it's rather complicated. I mean, this checkmate would be rather complicated, but others are simple, and we will consider them right away. So we start with the 2 queens. First idea is you have a black king in the middle, and white king doesn't participate, because 2 queens can checkmate within 3 moves according to the engine. So you see 3 moves. And first move suggested by the engine is to restrict the king. You don't need to check him. It's not necessary to check, but it's important to stand in the opposition to the king. Opposition means that it is not check, but the queen and the king separated by one square, and little bit shifted square. I mean, black king and white queen are shifted little bit from the real position, but it's queen's opposition to the king. And now the king needs to step back. This is the most important idea of this opposition. King needs to step back somewhere. So the queen make a control on the 2 files and diagonal. So the king step somewhere. Then another queen participate, and now by this diagonal this queen can check the king. And finally, so can check the king, and right now king has only 2 steps to move. So on the 2 white steps nearby each other, so move. So d5 and e4. And the last idea is to checkmate him. So white has 3 possibilities. This checkmate, when it continue checking the king, and the other queen protect the first one and actually restrict the king. And another checkmate here, because 2 queens control the square, or control the 2 horizontal lines and vertical lines, and also diagonal lines, and therefore black king cannot move anywhere. This is very nice position for the checkmate. And also you can do it with another queen. with another queen like this. So this is a position of the checkmate, and you need to keep in mind and practice. Then you can do checkmate with the 2 queens within 3-4 moves when you need it. Sometimes it's impossible. It's important when you have no much time, especially in the blitz games. Okay, this is understood. So first idea to restrict. Okay, let's start from the beginning. First to restrict, then when the king, okay, let's move another position for the king. So in this case, he will get a checkmate in 2 moves already. If he moves here, so if he moves here, it will be again check. He moves again, and this. Now we got a checkmate to the black king. So with 2 queens, it's too easy. The black king can be checkmated anywhere because 2 queens control diagonals and vertical and horizontal line at the same time. Okay, let's move to another checkmate, and this checkmate by the queen and rook. So okay, clear the position, put the king, put the queen. Okay, move queen here and move rook here somewhere else, and the black king would like to be in the middle. Actually, in this case, the middle position is not that good because maybe it's okay. So middle position probably the best position for the black king because most except when 2 queens attack him, because every time the checkmate happens at the edge. So the idea of white to move the push or force the black king to move to the edge, and then they checkmate him. So what happens here? So first idea is I would do it like this. Okay, let's start the game and let's figure out how to checkmate him, the king. So first idea is to restrict him, restrict the king, and the effective way right now is this way. So black needs to move, and it will move to the edge. It cannot move anywhere else. Otherwise, it can move here, but in this case, the rook restricts him even more, and then it will be even easier checkmate. So if the black king moves here, so the idea of the checkmate would be like this. So it's already checkmate. Therefore, initially, when the black king got a chance to run, it needs to run and doesn't allow the rook restricted anymore. So he moves, and okay, I don't want to use the white king. I just want to use the queen. So the queen checkmate, and notice that one vertical line is controlled by the rook, another vertical line now controlled by the queen. So the black king can only move to the position here or here, because it only has so it cannot move away. So this checkmate names linear checkmate, like the rook and the queen controls 2 lines, and this way they continue moving. So rook moves here again, taking the lines from the black king, and now when the black king moves here, so it will be checkmate like this. So we already have a checkmate. So let's consider another checkmate, because I don't like that the king participates. So this checkmate just in 3 moves. So let's consider another checkmate, and move the king in another position. Move the king in somewhere here. And maybe closer, so it's important to be that it can be closer to, maybe here, closer to the line where the king where the queen stands. So let's start again. So now the idea is the same, and so the white rook decided to check the king, and this way the rook actually splits the checkboard in two pieces. If the king moves here, so the checkmate will happen on the upper side, above the rook, so on the line 6, 7, 8. If the black king step on the other side, the checkmate will happen in the lower part. So this is how the white rook separates the chessboard into parts, and also restricts the black king. Now the black king moves here, and the problem which appears is the queen would like to step here, but it cannot. So it needs to step somewhere else. It needs to move somewhere here and restrict the king. But I don't want to show this idea, so I want to show a simple linear checkmate for the king, and now the king move away. And right now the rook can actually step here under protection of the queen, and the king, if the king, I don't know, imagine that the king moves somewhere, the rook move again, the king move, then the rook checks the king, and the rook is protected by the queen. So the idea is queen should be behind the rook when they checkmate, and then the checkmate will be linear. So you can think of this checkmate different way. You can actually do a simple variation of the checkmate. You can bring the rook on this line, and no matter where the king moves, you can restrict the rook. Okay, it moves somewhere. You can restrict the rook, or you can restrict the king, and it will be a very simple checkmate which you probably know and which you probably do. And this checkmate will take about 6 moves. However, if you follow the restriction way, the checkmate will happen faster. So right now the queen restricts the king by doing opposition, and with opposition it will be much faster checkmate. So now after that the rook restricts the king, and now it will be linear checkmate in the end, and we'll do checkmate within 5 moves. So we can use here the idea of linear mate and opposition for the queen and king, for the queen to the king. So now next checkmate is okay. We will use for the next checkmate we change. So I remove the rook, and we only consider queen and king. Okay, maybe in the same position. So what the idea now? When you have only queen, you can actually checkmate the king, and the idea is simple. So we need to follow the idea of the opposition to the king, and as soon as the king in a position, you can push it further, and no matter where it goes, you can continue, and you can actually move the king too, because you need to take into account that the king must black king must turn to the must be forced to move to the edge, and then white king needs to be on the 6th line for the checkmate. Otherwise, it's not possible. So the black king moves, and then actually here I would restrict black king again, because it doesn't matter where the white king moves, it can follow the black king. So white king still move, and the most important now to get the actually it's not so important, but better to keep him in a position. Then when he moves, so you just check, and then black king turn to this line. Then it will be a checkmate. This is what you know. So this checkmate within 12 moves. So the main idea here is to keep so the queen need to be followed the black king, and the white king needs to also follow the king to get the position. But the interesting idea, so you can do the checkmate within 8 moves, and for that you need to choose where to checkmate the black king. So you can restrict the black king and doesn't allow it to move back, because it's far away for the farthest point for the white king. So you need to move the black king somewhere on the vertical line H, and then checkmate him there. If the king moves somewhere in the center, he wants to be in the center, then he moves back, and white king always push him. Maybe he is better to restrict the king, and if the king move here, so restrict him again. But the question is, the engine doesn't say anything about the number of moves to checkmate didn't change. What about here? So basically, yes, you can restrict him more, and if it moves here, so you can continue keeping him in a position. The idea is white king needs to be in a position to the black king, because black king is restricted by the diagonal, because it cannot cross the diagonal which controlled by the queen. Therefore, it has only one move, and then white king can again attack, move closer to the black king and set to the position. And finally, the white queen set to the position to the king, and in the end, white king moves, and you can checkmate him right like that. Again, so the idea is to first restrict the black king, and then he will get checkmate on the H line. And you need to know what will be the position for the... Okay, you need to understand that the position for checkmate is always like this. So white king on the 6th line, queen checkmate directly. It can be other way. Okay, let's checkmate the king another way. So restrict, and then black king move in a position, then white queen also restrict him again, and then white king restrict. Usually I do it in a position because it's simple, but it doesn't matter in this case. So now as soon as the black king step on the H, so white king step, and the checkmate is possible from this position. This is also good position for checkmate, and possible position from checkmate. Another position for checkmate, okay, let's move it here, so you can think of it like this. Check, and if he moves here, so it will be here. So this is square. But it's important that the checkmate should be, so the queen should control this diagonal. And in that case, when the queen checkmate the king cannot move to the square d2 because black or the white queen controls that. So you can consider here three elements. First, you have king's opposition, which is important. Maybe not so important, but I use that rule. It helps to do steps automatically. I don't need to think how to restrict with the king. I just step in a position. It helps. And the queen also always helpful when the queen stands in the position to the king. And finally, you have a linear checkmate rule like this. So, but the second line is restricted by the king, and so first line occupied by the queen, it is a checkmate. So the next checkmate I would like to consider the checkmate with a king, or with a king and rook, or maybe two rooks. Let's consider two rooks. So I remove the queen, and set somewhere two rooks. Okay, this also very simple checkmate. So how to make it fast? You probably know this checkmate. You use the linear idea. So first you need to restrict the king, and if the king shouldn't leave the. So if I was this king, I wouldn't leave this vertical line. So wait until the rook check me, and then I move here. So right now white cannot check the king this way, because on this line, because the king will attack the rook. So the rook needs to move as far as possible, and then black king continue moving, and now it will be a checkmate. So this is linear rule. So you put two rooks in one line, and they continue restricting the king until the checkmate. So white king do not participate in this case at all. Doesn't need to participate because it's too long time. It's too long time to move the white king to restrict the black king, and so it's not useful because rooks can do the job very fast. Okay, so with the rooks everything is simple. So you have linear rule, but you need to remember that if the king come closer to the line where the rook stands, in that case the rook needs to change position and attack the king from the opposite side. This is very useful and simple idea. Okay, the next checkmate is with one. Let's do it with one rook. Okay, so I just need to remove the rook and have a rook, one rook. Okay, I'm happy about this position. Black stands far away from the king. Black king is close to the center. It's almost ideal position for it, but not quite ideal. Let's change. Okay, let's move the rook here, and black moves to the center. So now we attack. Again, we are like in the checkmate by the rook. We need to separate this the whiteboard in two pieces, in two parts. And depending where the black king steps, so there we will checkmate the king. So if it steps here, so it's close, the king is close, and now it seems that we need to stand in a position, and if the black king choose the direction where he wants to get a checkmate. He wants to get a checkmate on H file, and here we go. So right now we need to find the moment when the black king stands in a position. So black king stands in the position to the white king. So the white king cannot do anything, and then attack the black. Black, of course, steps to attack the rook, but white king protects. And now it's important idea, because if black moves, white king follow, black moves again back and attack the rook, so the white kings need to protect it. However, it's not necessary. So it's important just the rook move somewhere along the file, and when the black king come close, so rook attacks the black king. So we continue this situation, and notice that usually the white rook doesn't allow king to move to the other side, to the upper side of the chessboard. Just control it in this space, and it's very important. It will be faster move, faster checkmate. So now white continue protecting the rook, or continue protecting the rook, and as soon as the black moves, it follows, and when the black attacks the rook, rook again moves somewhere else, and black move, so continue attacking and restricting the black. So white king and rook push the black opponent to the H file, and as soon as black achieves this file, white again moves. So now black moves. So maybe king moves too, and if kings move there, so white just step away, and now the black moves here, and white rook just suggest to the black king to move to the opposition with the white king, and it will be checkmate. Okay, let's consider another way. So right now I don't want to, I maybe restrict the king this way. So this is another situation. I restrict the king this way, and the king start moving away, and then my king needs to get as soon as possible and stand in the opposition with the black king, and then I will be able to solve the question. If I stand here, my rook, we need to restrict the king in some space, and it should be not only one line, but it should be two lines, so if possible. So but this way the black choose where to go, and I restrict him again, so the rook restricts the black somewhere around the center, and when the black moves, king moves again, and I just step back and he moves, so I check him again. So now the black choose where to get the checkmate, on the vertical line, on the horizontal line. If he choose horizontal vertical line, so I continue moving. I need an extra step. So the rook needs an extra step all the time that the king moves away, and when the two kings in the opposition to each other, so the rook check. So, and the same idea. Now white rook doesn't need to move there, so but the king will try to run away from the white king, and notice the black king needs to come to the opposition, so white always try to make an opposition the black king get in a position with the white king, then it will be checkmate again. If it doesn't happen, for instance, if white is here, black is here, white's move, and let's make a move with a rook. Now black move here, and if white moves here, so they will start running again in opposite direction, like that. But this is what we don't need. We don't need that. So white do not need to stand in the opposition with the black. In this case, the position of the black king will be bad for it. So we need to wait, just make another move, and as soon as the black king gets into the position himself, then it will be a checkmate. This is an idea of the checkmate with a rook. So this is a position of each time when the white pushes the black backward, only this position, and the most important that the black finds a position to the white king itself, and then white rook can attack. So this is idea of the checkmate with a rook. So now let's consider checkmate with other pieces like queen and bishop. This is rather simple. So we remove the rook and set queen and maybe any bishop, maybe black bishop. So what's the idea now? So in this checkmate, only only bishop and king participate for white. And the first idea, of course, so right now it's possible to checkmate black king because black king needs to choose the side of the blackboard. Maybe it's not necessary, but if the queen steps here, in that case black would have more choices to move. So the white queen probably attack the black king, and now I don't want to use white rook. I just put the bishop in front of, in a position to the king, and then it cannot move anywhere, so the king needs to move. Then next, so basically I can restrict the black king again by the bishop. So the bishop controls the line, and in this case white queen and the bishop makes kind of two lines in two directions. So white queen makes restricts the queen the black king within a file and the diagonal, and the bishop also uses second diagonal to restrict the kings. Notice that big white diagonal and next to it occupied by the queen and the bishop are not allowed for the king. So the king moves, and white can also move. Now it moves here, so closer, and this way again. So the black king needs to move in only back because the bishop restricted and the queen restricted. And after that, so the queen step, and notice it's actually would be a mistake to step here because it will be a stalemate, so it will be a draw. So the white needs to give some freedom to the black king. In the end, in the last step, white allows black king to move only back and forth. And now checkmate. So let's consider again. Let's move the queen in another position, black king move, and let's checkmate again. So again, the idea is to restrict the black king as much as possible. So the engine suggests 6 moves, and restriction the engine wants to restrict the king like that, because it will be a wall by if the king moves, then in fact it will be so it will be restriction by the diagonal and this horizontal line. As soon as the king moves, so the black bishop can restrict it too. So now the black bishop restricts the black diagonal position for the king, and the king needs to move, and then again moves here. Queen restricts the king, and the king continue moving. Then black square bishop, white bishop on the black squares restricts the king again, and the king moves, and the queen lets the king to move somewhere else. So it doesn't want to restrict anymore. Just remind, this is a mistake. This is stalemate. So the right position for the queen here. The queen can actually move here. It doesn't matter because it's already one step to the checkmate. So in conclusion, so the white bishop and queen will checkmate the king in this position, most likely in most cases. This position or this position. So there are two positions, and it will be again at the edge, and the idea is the bishop and the white queen make a diagonal restriction. So different from the rocks, it makes a diagonal restriction, and it's very important. It's very important because king cannot cross the diagonal restriction either. The same like the vertical or horizontal restriction. So it will be checkmate. Okay, let's let's consider the checkmate with a knight. Next checkmate with a knight. So I change the rook or bishop to the knight and continue talking about checkmates. So I put knight here and again call the analyze checkboard. So here the knight, so the idea of the knight can restrict the queen or the black king on two, so on the black positions right now. Right now e5 and g7, also d4. So these three squares are restricted, and white queen restricts the black king on the e6. So it means that e6 and e5 are restricted. So white king or black king wants to move somewhere, and then okay, I don't want to consider white queens or white kings, therefore I push the black king somewhere else. So black king moves, and now again you have restriction. The restriction continue working, and the black king moves in this square. So the next it will be a check. So this push the black king somewhere else, and I continue restricting, and queen I continue moving into the position with the black king, and the black king needs to move, and knight helps because knight can make a restriction too, and besides it can make position for the checks, for the convenient checks for white. So right now black steps here, and because black expects that the queen stuck here, and it will be a stalemate, so it means draw. But you need to take into account these ideas all the time, but you don't need to think about it because you can okay, the engine suggests this checkmate, because when the king moves, the engine suggests a check, and if the king moves here, it will be checked by the knight. It's one possibility for the checkmate. Another possibility for the checkmate, if the king moves here, then the queen check him like this, and it will be a checkmate. So let's consider another way. So let's move the queen in a position first. So it will be simple without thinking too much. And when the king start moving, queen continue doing a position, and after that the knight can help. And when the king returns, the queen check him. Queen check him. So now as soon as the king moves back, so queen again push the king, but then the knight start working, and knight helps the queen to checkmate the king. So now if he moves here, it will be okay, we can check like this. Check, he moves, check again, and depending where the king moves, if it moves here, it will be checkmate here. If the king moves to that side, it will be checkmate here. This is a checkmate related to the queen and knight. So the basic work is done by the queen, because queen by opposition push the king to the edge, and the knight helps to checkmate in particular, or to actually with a check, with a convenient check, or make a situation with a checkmate. While recording this video, I realized that the video becomes too long, and I think the last checkmate for today, checkmate with a bishop, I record in a separate video. So in conclusion, so we considered several simple checkmates with two queens, one queen, queen and rook, two rooks, and one rook, and also with a queen and knight, queen and bishop. And I hope it's useful for you, so you will not need to checkmate the king long time, because there is a restriction of 50 moves in total. And I hope this video will help you to learn how to checkmate the king as with a minimal number of moves. However, the last two checkmates with the bishops and bishop and knight, I will show in a separate video. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you next time. Bye bye.